Okay.
Okay, so this is our April 1st lockdown video for reptiles, and we are going to show you the difference between two different kinds of iguana. And Indy has volunteered to hold Shrek, and this is the best way for her to hold Shrek because she's quite a bit shorter than me. Shrek is a green iguana. I'm going to turn it face me so I can see the size. He is about an average size male. He came to us as a rescue, which is part of the reason I wanted to talk to you guys about green iguanas. They are very common pets, even today, but they can be really hard to care for. They're very personable, they're super social animals, but they get very, very large, and they require, they require fairly high heat. They're a tropical animal. They're native from southern Brazil all the way to Mexico. And they've been introduced into almost all of South America now, Puerto Rico, and in America, they're an invasive species in Florida. No, you're just going to ignore me. They get very large. They require UVB light, or they require to be kept outside. There are people in the American Southeast that have a lot of luck keeping them outdoors, but where we live, you've got to keep them indoors if it's below 50 at nighttime. And so that means you need big heat and big enclosures and big amounts of food, right? Giant stuff needs giant everything else, just like the tortoises that we talked about. So iguanas are highly arboreal, which means they live in trees. They are wonderfully adapted to climb. Shrek is a boy. He's got his big do-flap show off for girls, his big tall spikes, but he likes to be scratched behind his ears, just like a dog. You good? Yeah. Wasn't this a great idea? Indy thought this would be a great idea, and she would be the tree stump for today's video.
I kind of like it.
Now Shrek's ignoring the lettuce.
He's just staring at me.
Likes the attention.
So the reason iguanas have persisted as really popular pets is because they are personable like this. The only downside to iguanas is adult males can sometimes get in the mood to find a girlfriend, and then they can get quite territorial and they can be very aggressive. A big iguana has really big claws. They've got, can you turn with me? They've got a very large tail. And both can be harmful to people. If they were to get upset. No, I think he wants to go toward the lettuce.
Okay, good. See how I'm done.
Just scoop him if he tries to get on the screen. I don't want to catch his claws. Nope, he's going to go right for that screen. Like most things here, we don't really trim his claws all that much. He has a large naturalistic enclosure. We want him to be able to climb and do all the things that iguanas are supposed to do. So it keeps him from getting fat. That means when he climbs on you, though, just like the monitors that we played with a couple of days ago, if your skin isn't thicker than tree bark, he doesn't know the difference. So he's going to dig in and climb on up. Oh, you're going to stare at Teresa now? And
he's been staring at me this whole time.
Camera. And then big old long tail.
Very whip-like tail.
Yeah.
It's quite painful if he whips you with it.
You want to get him off and try to get him back?
Stay out off of him.
Okay, go.
I got you.
Yep.
You good?
Come here.
Just scoop and walk.
Please.
It's pretty much how you deal with big lizards. Scoop and walk. And now you can hear Indy flailing in the background.
No, please don't leave. Okay, well, this is very uncomfortable lizard.
Okay, and then I'm going to get one of the variants of ground iguana.
Hurry up, turn around.
Guys the difference. While Indy struggles
Turn around
to
and
get
just let him go back in the
a
enclosure.
highly arboreal lizard off of the back of her head when she can't see what she's doing because she's wearing a hood.
Keep spinning. Nope, other direction. Keep putting his head into the box.
Okay, I'm standing like this.
There you go.
There you go. And this is a completely different kind of iguana. This is a Rhinoceros Iguana. His name is Teller. Rhinoceros iguanas are common to the island of Hispaniola, which is divided between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and they are ground dwellers. So rather than climb trees and find their vegetation, they actually live in dry forests and are much more common for walking through the trees and climbing big rocks. There's lots of pictures of them sitting on beaches and things when people go on vacation. And they actually are a little bit more rare in the wild because of a loss of habitat, especially in Haiti. It's a very highly developed place and that doesn't leave a lot of room for the iguanas. They are a little less common in the pet trade than something like a green iguana, just because of their scarcity in the wild. And the Cyclura genus that they're a part of includes a lot of really highly endangered iguanas from a lot of the different Caribbean islands. So they're just not as commonly kept in the pet trade, but they are very similar to green iguanas. They're very personable. I'm just hanging out petting him like he's a cat. That's kind of how he acts. Most big reptiles, most big lizards, especially iguanas, actually do act just like cats. They tolerate human beings. They come to us for treats, and then they walk off like they own your whole house. These guys are basically the exact same thing, but they have scales. Right? And very similar to green iguanas, males can be very aggressive, especially towards other lizards. And if you guys can see, the reason they're called rhinoceros iguanas is because of these big scales that pop up, almost like he has horns. Now that I'm rubbing him, he's closing his eyes to ignore me. Huh, won't be rubbed. Boop. So, those are used to butt like goats when you're fighting over girls. We have a facility here that's set up like a petting zoo, so we let other lizards, including this lizard, walk around, but never at the same time. The problem is that this lizard can see the other ones when they get out. So the green iguana is very social. He'll start clawing at the glass and he'll put his face by the window and he'll watch you, like trying to guilt trip you into getting him out. He wants to participate because he wants to be involved. He thinks somebody's getting fed when he's not. This guy is not like that. When he sees you get other lizards out, he will headbutt at things and run and jump, and he will get upset because he thinks that this is his rock pile and he doesn't want other people to be on his rock pile. And he doesn't want other people to be with his humans.
You're in the sun, sorry.
Oh, am I?
Yep, nope, it's okay. I'll move.
Where are we going?
To hang out on the lettuce.
You're just going to sit on it? So, this iguana actually came as a pair. No, we're not. Why does everybody want to climb up on the screen? You're going to catch your feet. Go. You're not going on the screen. This iguana actually came as a pair and was very, very small and was what we call subverted. So this iguana is a boy, but when he came to us, the previous owner had passed away and we took him in and his, what we thought was his mate, as a kind of a rescue type of situation. And the person that we had gotten them from was speaking to the owner's widow, and they didn't really have very much information about them. And so Teller was very small, and then we had a second very large, very old rhinoceros iguana who was probably half again as big as Teller at the time. And really cool, no issues, but just very old. And Teller was very scared, didn't like people, didn't want to be touched, ran all the time, just very, very skittish and a lot smaller than he is now. That very old iguana eventually passed away after a few years. And in the 18 months following that iguana's passing, Teller doubled in size. His horns started to come in, and for iguanas, you guys probably can't see, but right there along the inside of their thigh, they develop waxy pores, and that's how you know it's a boy, other than being able to see the boy parts. Teller immediately developed wax in his pores. His horns started to come in. He doubled in size. He became much more outgoing. He would sit and bask and eat with us. And then one day he went to the bathroom and we saw that he was a male. So he had been subverted by that really gigantic old dominant male, for all that time. That people thought he was a female, and he was just little and a kind of a skittish runt, and would never really be much more than kind of a pet just to have at a facility like ours. You couldn't do anything with him. He was super scared. We're not going on the screen.
I would like to be in the
So
window,
that's,
please.
Something you have to take into consideration when you have iguanas. Iguanids in general, what are we licking? Live in very large social groups, and there's a social hierarchy. And the really big male typically runs the show, and they're very aggressive about it. And are you gonna try and jump on me? Sorry. And they can really stunt other lizards, and so
You
you have
aren't
to pay
petting
attention to
me.
that. Am I talking with my hands and bothering you? Sorry. So you have to really pay attention to that. We almost never recommend keeping things like this in groups. The only people that typically do keep males singly with groups of females if they want to breed. But even then, females that are laying eggs and digging their nest, they don't want to be fooled with either. So we never keep boys together. No, we're not going on the screen. I knew you were going to try. Come over here. Walk toward the lettuce. Nope, go on the lettuce. You can go on the lettuce. No more lettuce. Okay, I got you. So as you can tell, they're super aggressive giant lizards. No, not true. They're giant fat babies that just do whatever they want. It's like having a scaly toddler. It makes them awesome. They're kind of a pain when they do funny stuff like that, but they're a wonderful pet. If you guys have any questions about them or you want to know more, I encourage you to look up the entire Cyclura genus. Is amazing. The iguanas from the Cayman Islands, Jamaican iguanas, a lot of highly endangered species. People are doing a lot of great work on those islands to try and keep those iguanas around for everybody to enjoy. You guys should really check it out. And parents, if you are watching, please stop buying green iguanas as pets for your kids, because they get gigantic and then they end up with me and they're huge. And I love them and they're fun, but they eat tons of salad and are really expensive to feed. Adults, if you want to get a green iguana, they're an amazing pet. Make sure you have a room ready for them. They get humongous. They will claw up your couch, and you need to be prepared to buy and build really big salads. It's worth it if you have the time and space. Probably not if you are a minor. So that's my PSA on iguanas. I love them. I love big lizards. They're a ton of fun, but I'm also an adult and a bigger dude, and I get clawed up a lot, and that's something you have to kind of contend with. If you guys have any questions about more of that and you want to message us, you are more than welcome to. I talk big lizards all the time, and I can help you out with something like that. Let me know. And then tune in tomorrow. We'll do another video. Is he bobbing his head behind me right now?
No,
It felt like it.
he might have been.
He's looking at